Greetings to everyone out there in YouTube land. I'm Ahmed Hassanin, and I just want to give a shout out to Coach Dan. Thank you for all the support you show the team and the players. Everyone hit the like, subscription button, and yell woo in the comments. Thank you, and go Lions.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host, once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for rising and shining. Lions Talk Live Morning Show Edition. You know what? I think we got some news, some questions that need to answer. May have just received those answers during an interview with Dan Campbell yesterday. We're going to get into this in the main topic of the day, but some of the speculated moves the Lions might have to do in the earlier parts of the NFL draft to try to augment this potential situation could probably be said that it's put to rest at this point. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Lions, one of their premier cornerbacks, had faced some legal issues as of late. And yes, that meant Terrion Arnold had some questions. Did the Lions need to move off him? Did they need to draft a replacement? Did they have some real fears about his situation? While nothing is known for sure, you can probably say he's got a smile on his face. We're going to get into this and a whole lot more, to be fair. It isn't just about Terrion Arnold. I think the Lions got a whole lot of good news, at least in my point of view. I do have a head cold right now, so maybe I'm just loopy. So it is what it is. Real quick, before we get into the main topic of the day, and then the 5 headlines now, another halfway through the show, roughly, Anthony from Roar the Lions UK is going to make a little time out of his day to join us. May not be exactly at 7:30 a.m. or halfway through the show. He is hurrying to get to a mic to join us. But anyways, when he gets here, he gets here. Real quick, though, before we get into all of the above, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We are roughly, 92 subs away from hitting 16,600. So if you have a half second time, and you can help out with that, that would be awesome. While you have that free moment and opportunity, reach on down, left, right, wherever it is on your screen, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 300, 400, 500 or more thumbs up or likes. Final piece, maybe you're just looking for better health. Maybe you got high blood pressure, trying to get it down. Maybe, you have high cholesterol. Maybe you just want a healthier life. Then go to the wife's web store, or maybe even check out her social media. She's got a YouTube and Instagram and everything else out there. Go to jensavagefitness.com. Check it on out. You're going to find that the peptides and the other products that she promotes, I've basically been the guinea pig for them. And the only thing this guinea pig can say is, yes, it's made a significant impact in reducing my weight, getting rid of my, subcutaneous fat and everything else in between. So check it out. If you want a little bit healthier life, you want to get those numbers down, you don't want to use this, that, and the other thing, maybe check it out. They're not artificial. They are all natural. So check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll go with that. All right, all that done, set out of the way. Let's get the show rocking, rolling. Today we're going to start off with the main topic of the day, then transcend on over into the 5 headlines now. So 1, 2, 3, main topic of the day. Most of you probably aware MCDC took some time out yesterday to talk to reporters about a gajillion different topics. I got some of the topics over to you guys in separate videos yesterday, but I didn't have time to get all the topics over there. If you're Dan Campbell this morning, you're probably looking this way at the camera. You're pointing at it like a WWE wrestler and feeling pretty good about it. Why is that? Well, let's just start off with the TA aspect of things. Quote from Dan Campbell, "We got all the information that says he wasn't involved," Campbell said at the annual league meetings in Phoenix, Arizona. Quote, "That's what we know. That's all we know. That's really all I can say." And we're at this moment of time planning for him to be here, be a part of the team. As far as I know, it's not a big deal. It seems like he wasn't involved with this. Now, I could spend all day reading off his quotes about it, but let's just walk through this. TA, for those who maybe are unaware, about 2 months ago, some people he knew were in a situation down in Florida where basically they kidnapped somebody, put a gun in their mouth, or maybe it was people, but I want to say it was one person. And this was in retaliation to this particular individual allegedly breaking into Terrion Arnold's Airbnb, stealing like $100,000 in cash, some jewelry, his NFL-issued phone. Yes, if you're unaware, NFL players are given an NFL-issued phone, so if the league does need to reach out to you, they can do it directly, not use your private phone. A whole lot of stuff going on. Terrion Arnold, vehemently has denied via his representation that he had anything to do with it. Let's see, the district attorney working on the case in Florida said, hey, Terrion Arnold's name appears in a bunch of texts, appears in a bunch of stuff. There just hasn't been anything to directly connect him to this situation. Why I'm bringing all this up and the Dan Campbell stuff is because you guys understand the NFL is a machine. It is the most, it's the biggest sports franchise, league, whatever you want to say, you might be able to say on this side of the planet. I get if you go over to Europe and everything else, the Euro leagues and stuff, they're probably bigger than the NFL. But as far as just North America, the NFL is king. And with that being said, the NFL plus the Detroit Lions incorporate a whole lot of former CIA, FBI, just police-specific individuals who are trained in depth, I should say, at researching situations, reaching out to law enforcement, figure out if there's really anything that's going to harm the Shield or the franchise. For Dan Campbell to go on the mic and talk to reporters and say, hey, from everything they know, this is not a situation. TA has been cleared. I think that's huge. That means people who really are good at analyzing these type of situations, doing the investigations on their own, came to the conclusion Terrion Arnold is probably free and clear. I know there had been some speculations in recent days and weeks. Lions might have to go out and sign another cornerback or draft in round 1 or 2 a cornerback to replace TA. But for the leader of your franchise to come out and talk to reporters and say it's all okay, we got information, he wasn't even involved, that means that Brad Holmes, Sheila, everybody you want to throw on the list, sat down with the Lions representation to do the investigations, let alone cooperated from New York with their investigations, said, yeah, there's nothing here for Terrion Arnold. Nothing official can be made out of this. I want to be specific with it. There's nobody can say without a shadow of a doubt something can't happen later on to be charged if new information were to emerge. But this far into it, I'm going to go out on a wild limb and say if the Lions, let alone the Shield, the NFL, had any kind of thoughts about this man being guilty, we probably would not have got that statements from this man, Dan Campbell, the leader of the free world that is the Detroit Lions fan base. So I think that's phenomenal news for the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell, on other topics, did go through a bunch of other stuff, talked about the situation with Taylor Decker. We're going to get into that aspect during the 5 headlines now, just so I could address it separately. But right now, Duke Crew, what say you about Terrion Arnold? Should he be all smiles at this point? I feel for the kid if he really had nothing to do with this. This was just some knucklehead friends of his saying, hey, we're going to protect our buddy. We're going to do this. He doesn't need to know about it or whatever, because they probably understood he can't be involved. He shouldn't be involved, stuff like that. So is it just somebody going lone wolf, McQuaid or something like that? I guess that's possible, but it does seem like for the Detroit Lions' own research staff and the NFL investigation units that Terrion Arnold has been, at least according to Dan Campbell, ruled innocent and not going to be a problem for the league or the team. So that's good news if you ask me, because TA, some of you don't like him. I'm not here to debate that. My personal view, as I often share on the show, I think he's actually developing pretty well, especially when you look over historical evidence of cornerbacks that typically take a few years to really get right in the NFL. I thought last year he was showing significant signs of improvement. Yes, some of you think he's a cannon fodder, but it is what it is. All right, with that out of the way, let's get over to the 5 headlines now, because there will be some more stuff about what MCDC said, and we're going to get into during the 5 headlines. So real quick, 5 headlines now. All right, that music always helps me wake up in the morning, no doubt about it. 5 glorious headlines now. Another edge rusher for Brad Holmes to clamor over just fell in the Lions' lap. Sideline report, story by Candace Barreras. Hey, you know what? Attila the Hunt in the chat is probably going to be happy about this because I know he's been one of the people really pointing out the Lions should have went for this guy originally. AJ Espinoza, I think he's not a bad defensive end if the Lions want to get him in for a rotational piece. Most of you are aware that he did sign recently with another team in free agency, but because he did not pass the physical, he's back on free agency wish lists, I guess. Detroit Lions would have to go after him and then make, obviously, the conclusion that was different from the other team that, yes, he can play. The physical's not a problem. Should they go after him? My personal opinion, I'm probably with Attila the Hunt and a bunch of you guys. It wasn't just one person in the Duke group. I would go after him. If you really think DJ's going to be your starter or at the very least a rotational guy for you, then why not add AJ? I think now things start getting a little bit more interesting there. You add somebody in the draft, wherever it may be, or just go with Ahmed Hassanin. Plus, if you have any kind of belief in Peyton Turner, Levi Onwuzurike, or a whole lot of other people you could list, then I think the Lions need to get a defensive end, at least for one season, isn't as big as it once was. Again, you have to have your personal belief that these other guys are going to be okay. If nothing else, we could probably agree adding him is not going to hurt you, especially since now that deal he's going to receive is going to be incredibly team-friendly. He's got some size. He's got some ability. He can stop the run. He can get to the quarterback. He did not have a great year a year ago. We can all probably, feel safe talking about that. But I do think if the Lions want to go get him, it's probably going to be a team-friendly deal. All right. We're going to talk about Dan Campbell a little bit more. Key takeaways from Dan Campbell. It's time for Core to step up. SI.com, story by Christian Boer. Boer of SI, he's not wrong. It is time. And when talking to Dan Campbell, we already mentioned the TA stuff, so I'm not going to repeat it in this article. But just say this. I think it's looking very good for TA. Moving on to new leadership opportunities, he does point out Montgomery's gone, Khalif Raymond's gone, Glasgow, Decker. You guys get it. Alex Anzalone, can't forget him. A lot of the big leaders for this team have been shown the door. They left on their own accord, or the Lions just simply let them go. Why that is, that's a conversation for another time. But I do think Dan Campbell's spot on that he thinks now some guys have grown into the leadership role, and that's why they chose to put these guys in a position of leadership. He specifically talks about Jack Campbell, Penei Sewell, amongst others. Amon-Ra St. Brown is on that list. What are you guys' thoughts on that when it comes to leadership alone? I actually think the Lions are in a pretty good spot. With the guys you just mentioned, plus Jared Goff, and I'm sure there's other people I'm not considering that will step up in the leadership roles, but it happens with every team, every sport, every year. Some guys age out, some guys age up. And I think Dan Campbell's all set and ready. I think he's correct with that. About additions to the defense, MCDC, said, hey, he loved himself some Alex Anzalone, some Amik Robinson, and Muhammad. Hates that the team couldn't keep everybody, but does point out he really likes what he's seeing or what he saw with DJ, with Peyton Turner, linebacker. Forget about Clark sometimes, and Christian Eisen and Roger McCreary, who are all basically on one-year contracts. Talked about why they added them, what they think they're going to get out of them. And yes, he doesn't think these guys are cannon fodder. He thinks these guys have a real opportunity to help improve the overall health and ability levels of the defense. I get some of that's coach speak. You sign these guys, you want to slam them, you want to pick them up, you want to build them up. But in my personal view, I do think he's right with some of these guys. Clark, I see more as a situational guy. Hope I'm wrong. Hope he's Lawrence Taylor out there. One of them, I think, has some potential to really be a starter for us. And yes, is he going to get 50 sacks a game? No. Is he going to get one a game? I think that's possible. But I do think he's going to do stuff that most of the Duke crew would probably agree. Alquin Muhammad just was not good against the run. You go watch the games last year, we gave up a ton of yards. Why is that? Now it's not on one person, but watch how many times other teams went and ran or pulled to his side. He was kind of paralyzed to do anything about it. And that meant the Lions now had overcommit linebackers or safety personnel to help augment that, to help protect him. But what's that do? It frees up the opposite side. And you guys saw later and later in the year that got exposed over and over and over. All right. Did talk about, and I was happy to see this one. Levi Onwuzurike. Campbell just says he's provided some clarity on what Onwuzurike's role could be this year should he make the team. The Washington product will be a big defensive end playing primarily in run packages and matchups to sides where teams tend to run the ball. That's probably not a big surprise, as that's what the Lions have used him over and over for in the past. Levi has the ability to play the end. What do the Lions want to do? We keep saying it all the time. They want to stop the run. Levi Onwuzurike gives you a big plus there in the run game. Passing game, getting to the quarterback, you guys understand, even with the spine fusion and the blown out knee, he's still one of the most athletic defensive tackles in the NFL. And that's just incredible for a guy who's gone through all that. So he'll play defensive tackle on obvious pass rushing down. I like what the flexibility he gives you. He did talk about the Taylor Decker situation, just to give this it's just news real quick. And he does just say, hey, after 10 seasons, Decker was granted the release he requested. Lions tried through multiple conversations to work it out, apparently with Taylor Decker. I'm going to summarize some of all this so we don't have to go word for word. But I think at the end of the day, most of us understand Taylor Decker wanted to be who he had been the prior 9 or so years before all the injuries really robbed him of a lot of different aspects in his physical abilities. It's not easy for anybody to tell an athlete you're no longer the guy. And I think just watching Dan Campbell's face, his nonverbal communications in those moments, I'm going to guess Dan Campbell felt pretty dang bad that it was on his time that he had to tell Taylor Decker, we got to move on from you unless you're going to bring that price tag down, because most of us saw it last year in his ability to play and not even practice. Taylor Decker was a shell of himself. Is it possible they could reemerge into some sort of relationship in the future and sign Taylor Decker? It's possible. I'm just not sure he's going to be a significant improvement over anybody you have right now, unless he's really healed up. And that's something I can't answer for you. All right. I did have this in another headline, but I kind of went into it with the prior headline, so we're going to move on from this one. One other thing I'll say about Dan Campbell, he talked about Taylor Decker quite a bit. You could tell he's got a lot of emotions, a lot of love for Taylor Decker. And I'm sure it was really strenuous for Dan Campbell, like it would be for any coach, having to tell somebody your time is done. All right, so moving on from that one. How about this one? Ranking top 10 best NFL franchises entering the 26th NFL season. This comes from Deshara Asai of NFL.com. And I'm not going to give you a big drum roll on this one, but I'll just say this. The Lions might be on the list here. How about that for long-suffering Lions fans? Let's go through the list if you don't mind. And give me just a second to load this one up here. Give me a second. I thought it was all set. But all right, number 10 franchise, and this is according to the NFL right now, is the LA Rams. There's a whole lot of people that say, man, we should be the Rams. Well, you know what? The Rams are one of the top 10 franchises per the league, and I don't disagree with them. I think they run themselves very well historically. Not just now, not just the last 3 years. I think if you went back the last 50 years, they are one of the better franchises out there. They're number 10. Number 9 on this list is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one I might have a raised eyebrow and a red flag with, but they point out how they've been drafting lately. And lately is a relative term. They don't give a specific deadline for that, but they think they've managed the financial situation of the team very well. Draft picks have hit. Yada, yada. They came in number 9. I'm not going to spend all day on them. That doesn't matter to us. Number 8, for a historical reference, I think they are right. The Washington franchise, whatever you want to call them, the Redskins, Commanders, that's up to you guys. What they say is you look at just the consistency, decade from decade to decade. What do the Redskins, or excuse me, what do the Commanders do? What does Washington do? They win, and they win over and over. Yes, it doesn't mean they haven't had some down times here and there. Most franchises do account on that, but they seem to find a way to rise up here and there. Number 7 on this list, the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not so sure about this one, but they do talk about one specific reason why they put them at number 7, and this is one of the most profitable franchises in the planet. Not just for football, not for just, the NFL or anything like that. There's nobody that sells merchandise quite like the Raiders. And I think you guys understand they have a fan base across the world. There's people that don't even watch football that buy Raiders gear. and that's part of why they have the Raiders listed as number 7. I get it. At the end of the day, it is a business, and are you profitable or not? Raiders, once upon a time, were a storied franchise when it came to winning. Just win, baby. It's been a while since we could say that about the Raiders. All right, number 6 on this list, I was surprised they were actually not higher. That's the New England Patriots. Now, again, it's not one reason why they put somebody at wherever they put them on the list, but they do talk about the dominance they had with the Brady era. Also point out, and rightly so, the 80s, they did make it to a Super Bowl. They have been relevant far before Tom Brady took over. And yes, once again, they made it to the Super Bowl last year, talked about just a franchise that has been more successful than most people really consider. They're probably correct when saying the New England Patriots fits that bill. Number 5, Denver Broncos. Again, a franchise that is just consistent. There's not really many times that I can think of in the last 30 or 40 years where you could say there was an extended downtime for the Broncos. We all know about, some of the 90s and the comebacks and the Super Bowl wins, and then even the 80s, to be fair, too. Well, the Broncos, once again, they might not be Super Bowl, but they're one of the more powerful franchises in the NFL. Year in and year out, profitability, draftability, sustainability, they've got abilities over in Denver. All right, number 4 on this list, I was shocked by this one. The New Orleans Saints. We'll just go with this. There's a lot of metrics that go into calculating what a successful franchise is. And they do point out a lot of different things. I would say this, in New Orleans, there's not many other professional sports to take away from the Saints. There are some, yes, but nothing that outdraws the Saints. The Saints are an institution down there. They point this out when breaking it all down. The Saints are just powerful because of what they mean to the area and what the area reinvests into the Saints. That's why they're number 4 on that list. So, with that being said, you're probably saying, man, the Detroit Lions, we haven't seen them yet, Dan. You said they were going to be in this list in the top 10 NFL franchises. Well, you are not wrong. Number 3 on the list, and let me get this off your board, it's the Detroit Lions. Now, again, why is that? Well, I had to spend a little time reading through all this. The Lions on the list, they go into some stuff with the historical aspect. And I know people don't like talking about the 1920s, 30s, 40s, stuff like that. But let's also give flowers due to where flowers are due. The Lions during that time were one of the most powerful franchises on the planet. Maybe the most powerful franchise on the planet. Still to this day, and I don't have the data right in front of me, so you're gonna have to give me a little rope with this. But the Lions are still to this day like the 10th most winning NFL franchise. When it comes to championships, we're still like in the top 15. Let that sink in. You haven't won a championship since the 1950s, and still you're better than over half of the NFL franchises. So I guess that just tells you something right there. They also talk about merchandise sales. We're nowhere near the Raiders, but you know what? We're pretty dang good. We're also pointing out the last 5 years of the franchise and how big that renaissance has been. The Lions are viewed currently as the 3rd best franchise in the NFL. So I know there's a whole lot of haters about what we didn't do in the 70s. You could say the 80s or even the early 2000s. But we also have to understand they're judging the whole totality of the franchise, not just this, that, and the other thing. When it comes to merchandise sales, there's only a couple franchises that do better than the Lions, and I'm sure Calvin and Barry helped out a lot with that. I'm sure St. Brown, especially internationally, is helping out with that. So all that being what it is, plus they do point out the win rate for Brad Holmes in the draft. Yes, your Detroit Lions are the 3rd best franchise in the NFL. If you want to know who number 2 is, it's the San Francisco 49ers. Number 1, not a big surprise here, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we can all understand why those 2 franchises are, battling at the top of the list. All right, moving on here. 3 strong second-round edge prospects for the Detroit Lions. This comes from our friend Sue Levine of The Last Word on Sports. Let's go through this real quickly because, man, we have spent some time on this jazz today. We have powered through. But, hey, all right, getting to the second-rounders that she's pointing out. Need for an edge complementary to, yes, Aiden Hutchinson. I think you guys heard it a long time and many times. How about Zion Young, Missouri edge? 6'5", 255 pounds, a little light by Dan Campbell standards, but most people would agree. Somebody that can really shed blocks, create separation, get after the quarterback. A lot of upside to him. There have been some personality question marks, I guess you could say. I haven't dived into them too much to really say if they're justified or not. I'm sure most of you guys know more about that stuff than I do. I'm just going to say he's on the list. How about Gabe Jacobs, linebacker slash edge from Illinois? My problem with him is, again, what does MCDC want as an edge? Is he big enough to be that guy? To me, I don't see this one happening just because what I just mentioned, but there's no doubt about it. The guy gets after the quarterback. He gets in the backfield. He can create some problems, match up for the other offensive line. Would he be an ideal fit? You have to wait and see. Last one, Joshua Josephs, edge from Tennessee. He's probably one of the better options out there, but again, I think pretty dang light for Detroit Lions standards. Not for everybody else in the NFL, but the Lions definitely have a mold they're trying to fill when it comes to their edges. You see that with Hutchinson. You see it with other people. Why do we let James Houston go? Well, James Houston is not going to shut down the run. He might as well have just kept Muhammad if that's the case. I'm not going to make this a Houston debate. What we can say about Josephs, he's 6'3", 242 pounds. It's sort of like other guys on this list. I think he's just too light for MCDC to really desire him. Maybe Brad Holmes has a different opinion. Maybe he does want Dan Campbell to change his identity, but I don't think a GM would do that to the coach. You never know. Anything's possible. All right, I see we've got somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes, whatever it's going to be, until Anthony who's sprinting, by the way, his way over here gets here. So let's get to the Duke Crew comments section and see what you guys have to say before he joins us. How about that, by the way? Detroit Lions viewed as the third best franchise in the NFL. I was a little surprised by that. All right, Michael. Greetings, salutations, Coach Dan, the Duke Crew. Exclamation point, one pride. Woo! Back at you, Dennis. Top of the morning to Coach Dan and the entire Duke Crew. Exclamation point, and 100% my friend, back at you. Rob Hawk, what's the good word, Coach? Question mark. Morning, everyone. Back at you, and with an exclamation point, Rob. Hopefully you're having a phenomenal day. Henry Moore, Senior. Good morning, Coach Dan, the Duke Crew. What a team. What podcast. Exclamation point. What time to be a Lions fan? Woo! You got to be 1 in the morning with the Duke Crew. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. Bringing you the hits from coast to coast. Woo! yes, indeed. It's the internet, so it's not inaccurate. Henry Moore, good morning, Mike, Dennis, Rob, and Bo. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation, a big off season has me believing. Don't stop believing. That's what I would say with an exclamation point. Dennis, good morning, Henry. Rob, good morning, Henry. Michael, right back at you, Henry. Silver, good morning, Coach, and all Lions faithful. You got to be faithful to be a Lions fan. Any more Senior? Now there's the mighty fine crew. Exclamation point. Good morning, Stephanie. Same old soup. Good morning, Coach Dan, the Duke Crew. Like number 5. Number 5 is alive. That's a throwback. Pat, what's the good news? Now you know. No one is. Have the battle. Dennis, glad you are doing well, Soup. I was concerned. Yeah, we all were. Sounds like he's okay. Just, overworked the shoulder a little bit. Dory, hopefully we signed an edge. Not as of yet. It could happen, though. Look at it. Grip morning, Duke Crew, one pride. Well, hit us with the great news. Oh, fearless leader of the Duke Crew. Exclamation point. Hey, that's what I do? I don't know. Rob thought it was a great presser from Arizona yesterday. Yes, tough job to have to get paid to fly out to Arizona, hang out in the warmer weather, and you know what? Maybe have a little fun. But yeah, I think MCDC is not somebody who holds back very much. I don't think it's really in his mental makeup. So if he says it, he's probably actually thinking it. And I know he talked, we didn't really address it in 5 headlines or the main top of the day, the fact that he's more or less, in my view, came out and said Penei Sewell is going to be his left tackle. I get it. I think that's a good move. And in regards to Arnold, unless something really new pops up that neither the NFL's representation investigative units or the Detroit Lions investigative units, couldn't uncover, probably coming to the same conclusion that Terrion Arnold was not involved. All right, so and that's good news for the kid. Hopefully he learns from it, though. Henry Moore, good morning, my gritty friend. Hookadoo, well said, my friend. Same old Soup. Thank you, Dennis. Silver, morning, Mr. Henry, Soup, and Bo Booth. Exclamation point. Steve Rogers, 3 weeks until the draft. Yeah, about that, about three and a half, something like that. Same old Soup. Good morning, Silver. Moonscar Blade, good morning, all. And back at you, the man with the most powerful delivery in all of professional bowling. He often crushes the other team, by the way. Hookadoo, grip morning. Let's see, Tori, Bo, Henry, Dennis, Silver, Stephanie, Rob. May the grip be with you and also with you. Jen, morning, good morning. All Silver, good morning, Hookadoo, Tori, and Stephanie, exclamation point. Rob Hawk, good morning, Hookadoo. Hookadoo, and a fine grip morning, Jen. Silver, good morning, Jen, exclamation point. Dennis, I am hoping we get some good news on our linebacker room. I think it is now the biggest weakness of our defense, and many are overlooking it. The nice part is, my brother Tim sent me something about this yesterday. I should have probably threw it in here. Is somebody at the NFL did, okay, here's the top positional groups, 1 through 5 for the draft. I want to say linebacker was number 1. Edge was in the top 3. Wide receiver was like number 4. And defensive back was number 5. So, at any rate, a lot of what the Lions assumedly want to add on defense, you know what? It's on that list, and there's plenty of it there, brother. All right, Dennis, top of the grip morning, Hookadoo. Henry Moore Sr., good morning, Jen, and my wonderful friends, all the friends. 5 Fingers Freddy, please do not draft a right tackle or left tackle. Work on the D. Maybe they will work on the D. Maybe more than a little bit. Jen, good morning, Hookadoo. Silver, Mary, and Henry. Hookadoo, Moonscar. You put the M in Moon. Grip morning. And also with you. Trim Reaper. Greetings, salutations, Coach Dan, the Mighty Duke Crew. Exclamation point. Let's go, Lions. Woo! Always good to have you here, Trim. Silver. From what I heard, I'm starting to believe they will get an edge in the draft who might start. They might have really eyed somebody. I think there are some tantalizing opportunities for the Lions to add a starting defensive edge. And somebody who, fits their mantra. You want somebody 260, 290 pounds, shuts down the edge, makes offenses more one-dimensional. I mean, it is what it is at this point. The MCDC has told us all, verbally, non-verbally, this is what he wants out of his defense. He wants to make other teams be able to do one thing, pass the ball. That's it. And I think last year where things imploded, and I'm not going to say it was just Muhammad. I think it was a lot of different reasons. Lions couldn't stop the run. And you saw, especially later in the year, teams just ran on us more and more and more. And when you can run the ball, you control the clock. You set a play-action pass. I mean, you guys get it. It's what the Lions want to do to other teams. So we'll see, Silver Surfer, but I do think there's a tantalizing possibility we could go defensive end in round 1. I know that's what I've been mocking other than the last mock because I wanted to try to change it up. All right, Conan, Silver Surfer, who do you think we drafted edge? That's a good question. Let's see, Hookadoo. Where is JDC? The eye knows all, Silver. I don't know if I've seen him in a day or two. Have I? Maybe you guys have. Doug, first time in a long time that I made a live. Well, welcome in. Any chance we move up the draft to maybe pick 10? I would think it's more possible that we trade back. Now, you got to have somebody who wants to trade up, and that's always a problem. You can want to trade back, but if nobody wants to move up, it doesn't matter. You can try to move up, but if nobody wants to move back, that's also the problem. So wait and see what shakes out. All right, Silver also not sure if they will draft a left tackle with all this talk about Panay Sewell at the spot. Does that put Freeling and Proctor out of the picture since they are a left tackle who could play there? I think there's a lot of opportunity. If the Lions want to improve their offensive line at either a guard or tackle spot, they're going to have an opportunity in round 1 or 2. Just like you'd say the same thing. If they want to improve the interior defensive tackle spot, more rotation, more bodies there, they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to do edge. Anything they want. That's the one thing I do fully agree with a lot of you guys about when it comes to the Duke Crew. If they want to just simply improve the team with the best player available at each pick, they're going to be able to do that because they have filled in so many depth components to this team. I do fully agree with something that Micro Mike and I were talking about the other day. Your bread and butter is the offensive line. If that thing is back to 23-24 Detroit Lions offensive line, you impose your will in the running game, in the pass blocking. You control half the game through your offense. You control the clock. You control the yardage. You just put the other team in a bad spot. You help protect your defense too. So we'll see what they do. All right, Dennis, I'm thinking there's a better chance we move back, Doug. Yeah, I would agree with that. Mark GT, talking about somebody I haven't seen. I'd say number 1, defense need, fix the pass rush. The biggest failure for Brad and Dan. Could be accurate there. Taco Tuesday, I like the way you are thinking. Same old soup, 100%. Coach Rock, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Same to you. Queen Mary, good morning, Duke Crew. What's the good news, Coach? And now you know, and knowing is, Jess, if Brad was able to drop back a touch in the opening round, what could we expect to get out of that move? Ooh. I guess it depends because you've seen, like, when we moved up to get James Williams, we didn't really give up much, in my view at least. We gave up some stuff, but we moved up like 20 spots or something like that. We gave up, a bag of peanuts in a used Mountain Dew. It wasn't a ton. But then you see the Rams last year traded their pick to Atlanta, and they got a first round and some other stuff. I don't have the full trade in front of me. They got a king's ransom. So I think it just comes to down to how far are you dropping back, or that team wants to move up, and who's the carrot that somebody or other teams are chasing. All right, Trim Reaper, do you know what happens to people that watch Lions Talk Live and don't like and subscribe? Question mark. Do you know you just made the list? Stay out the list. Like and subscribe, por favor. All right, Hookadoo, I agree with that. Market pass rush has been a real issue. It has? Silver, good morning. Conan the Barbarian, frankly, I do not have a clue. I hope it's not Falk, because I've watched this film and don't like it one bit. Also, teammates rarely cheered him after a big play. It happens. Any more? Good morning, Queen Mary. David, it's possible a second, maybe even a first. Yeah, if you go by the Rams trade, a year ago, whatever it was. And boy, has Atlanta has that trade blown up in their face. Oof. But hey, you took a swing of the bat. I know 99% of Lions fans always want us to make the big move, the big signing. Trey Flowers, remember that was one of the biggest offseason wins in Detroit Lions history. Nothing against Flowers, man. He just wasn't an impact player. But it is what it is, man. All right, Dennis, our backers are also a big hole. Captain Jack can't cover all three spots. No, Derek Barnes is going to have to rise to the opportunity now afforded to him. All right, Rock, good morning, Mary Hookadoo Silver. Everybody on the list? Silver. Good morning, Mary Smith, Rock, and Trim Reaper. Exclamation point. Just how are you feeling, Coach? A little bit better, but still, it's like crazy. Like 1 minute, like right now, I'm breathing okay. Like 10 minutes later, man, I'm all stuffy. So is what it is. All right, I see he has finished his sprint to the end zone. He just spiked the ball. He is celebrating, getting high fives from everybody. Our special guest of the day has arrived. You know him, you love him. Let's get him on. He's all warmed up, ready to go. Let's bring on Anthony from Roar the Lions UK. Anthony, is it true while you were sprinting your way over to make the show, you clocked in an impressive 3.9 in the 40-yard dash?
Not up the size of the hill I have to walk to get to my house. It's about an incline like that, so I ain't sprinting 3.9. I ain't doing 40 and 3.9 up that thing. More like 39 seconds.
Fair enough, man. All right, let's start talking about this man. He gave some information to Lions fans yesterday. MCDC talked about a multitude of topics, including one, the Terrion Arnold situation. Talked about basically from everything he's been told and heard, sounds like TA was not involved. As a Lions fan, a Lions reporter, how do you view what MCDC had to say about TA?
I mean, you wouldn't expect him to give up too much just at this moment in time, would you? I mean, we don't know a lot of what's gone on with the situation right now. It's very hard to pass judgment on it at this moment in time. So, of course, you'll back your players. Of course you will, all the way. I don't really think there's as much to this as people are saying there is. Again, we've got nothing definitive really on what's going on right now. There was nothing to what I didn't expect him to say there. Like, you're not going to get a massive committal one way or the other.
When you talk about any coach, sometimes you got to pull the ripcord. You got to let people go. Taylor Decker, it seems like he's in his feelings about how things went down with Detroit. You've heard Dan Campbell talk about it now and just say, hey, they had to make a business decision, and I'm paraphrasing there. But what are your thoughts on the Taylor Decker comments about the franchise and how the franchise handled him?
To be honest, I think Taylor's acted like a petulant schoolchild. This all smacks of, he's ran to the media. I didn't get a thank you for this or that. You're the one who walked out on the organization, Taylor. You're the one who left. They gave you time and space to make a decision on what you wanted to do. The timing was always odd because when Brad was talking at the combine, it was literally 2 hours later. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm coming back, when he's given no indication that he is up till this point. It feels very planned and very calculated by him. And at the end of the day, the team were well within their right to ask him to take a pay cut from what he's earning, from what he's been doing with us. And if he doesn't want to do that, fine. But when he's walking out the door going, oh, they didn't say thank you to me, boo-hoo, everybody hate that. It's something a child does when they don't get their way. And, I think he should know better than that at this point. I think it's really soured this thing up The team, I don't think, have done anything wrong. This is a busy time of year. You've got a lot on your plate. You've got a lot going. It's a big time here. I'm sure in their own way they'll thank you at some point. He probably would go in the Lions Hall of Fame at some stage as well. So I think he's thrown his toys out the pram. No one's signed him. He's sat at home doing nothing. I think he's handled it poorly. Is there some blame on the Lions organizational side? Maybe, but this ain't a Barry or a Calvin. At the end of the day, good riddance if he's going to act like that.
There's been all sorts of speculation throughout the offseason. Once we knew about Decker's situation, him being released from the team, that Penei Sewell could potentially move over to the left tackle. Dan Campbell yesterday talks with reporters, says how much he wants him to move over there. Is that some sort of chess game being played before the draft, or do you think Dan Campbell's just a man who says his mind, speaks what he thinks? Do you think Penei Sewell is your new left tackle?
I mean, if the shoe fits, right? I mean, he was always drafted to be the left tackle of the future, Penei was. That was the whole deal when you first brought him in. Obviously, Taylor was protecting the blind side, but Penei was a college left tackle. It's where he's played his trade most of his career. It's, I think, where we all envisioned him ending up eventually. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. So why wouldn't you want him on your blind side? Obviously, with him being settled in at the right now for 5 years, it helps to keep him there. But at the end of the day, he's a generational player who's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Switching sides is not going to be difficult for him. He has plenty of experience there. So, it does give them flexibility in the draft. If they can go out there and find themselves a left tackle, then great, keep Penei there. If not, if it's more of a right tackle, move him, and then you've got your right tackle of the future. You can kind of do it either way, but I always would have assumed the plan would have been for Penei to one day be the left tackle of the franchise. So, if that's what it's going to be, then great.
When you hear, just to keep one more point on this, when you hear Brad Holmes talk about it all, it sounds like, and he specifically said Larry Braum. Now, I guess it's possible that he could be the right tackle. Brad Holmes did mention it. Again, with Brad Holmes, I take everything he says a lot more with a grain of salt than I do with Dan Campbell. But do you think the Lions actually have plans to not draft in round 1 or 2 an offensive tackle and simply go with somebody in-house?
I mean, all I would say is they're not going to come out and say that Larry Borum is not good enough to be right tackle here. That is counterintuitive. You're not going to come out and say that. Of course, you're going to come out and say that he can be the right tackle if you need him to. Like, that's backing your players. That's player management 101. You don't ever come out and say, "Oh yeah, this guy's shit. We're just having him here as a placeholder." I believe it gives them a little bit more leverage to be able to go a little later. If you don't get a tackle at 17, you can get one at 50, and Borum allows that to be a bit more realistic, because then you can spend time betting around to tackle in. And it's not like we can't get starters in round 2, especially if you're looking at right tackle as well. But he's a good insurance policy, and at the end of the day, if he's, the swing tackle who can do a bit either side, who's very experienced, it's good for us. But, I wouldn't expect them to say any less than he can start, because, they're paying him enough to start. So, that's just the word games and all part of it. Whether they truly deep down in their hearts believe it, I don't know. But, he gives us options in the draft. So, it's better than not having him here.
I don't know if you saw when we were going through 5 headlines now, but the NFL released the top historical over the life of the league, the top 10 franchises. Your Detroit Lions came in at number 3. And yes, Lomas Brown is leading the celebration at Ford Field about this. They point out a lot of different things about how dominant the franchise was in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. Talk about part of the factor was merchandise sales, who sells the most. Talked about how the Raiders made the list because they don't just sell merchandise, they far supersede any other NFL franchise. I get that. They're kind of a worldwide phenomenon when it comes to their merchandise. But when you look at the totality of the Detroit Lions, from the day they were first started, it's the Port Smith Spartans, to where you are now in these last half decade, last 5 years of the Renaissance, where would you rank the Detroit Lions franchise?
I mean, if you're talking in terms of wins and stuff, you're not ranking them very high, are you? But I think what makes Detroit stand out as a franchise is the legitimacy of its fan base. I mean, that's again, we've done many videos on this, but it kind of draws parallels to me and who I support whilst I'm over here. We're a very small team, don't have much success, but you've got a very passionate and loyal fan base, which can build a program much bigger than it is. And in terms of the Lions, they've got the loyalist fans of them all. In terms of the atmosphere they create, for how long they've gone without success, the fact that they're still there. There's still that many of them. You see places like Carolina and stuff, which are ghost towns sometimes, when their teams are not good. With us, through thick and thin, they are a legacy. And they have some of the best players ever to grace an NFL field. That has to be part of your storied history as well. You've got probably the greatest running back ever, one of the greatest wide receivers ever, one of the greatest quarterbacks, if you want to say, Bob all that, etc. Between your storied history and between, even with it now, I don't think you find such a rabidly passionate fan base over the entirety of the NFL. And I think that means a lot when coming to ranking them. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect that. I didn't see that. I didn't realize they'd be that high. But just because they've not won Super Bowls, and that doesn't not mean they're a storied franchise in terms of how they're built up. So, yeah, it's good to see. And, and when we win a Super Bowl, Christ, you'll see a celebration like no other. No other team in the league would be able to top what will be done by this fan base when it happens. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I mean, I think I was mentioning it before you came on. The Lions, from just a win-loss of championships, they want to say they're still like number 10 or 15 on the list. So even though you haven't won one in, 70 years, there's a whole lot of franchises that are worse than you who have won over those last 70 years. So, all right, now let's talk about the draft because let's face it, Anthony, we're under a month away. Brad has signed players left, right, and center as far as free agents to the team. Best guess as we sit here today, round 1, 2, what do you think the Lions are doing as far as the draft picks?
It's tough. Again, because the signings he's made have kind of mitigated a massively major need, but it's still in the back of my mind. If one of those top edge prospects falls a little bit, I still think they're going to go up and get one. When Brad talked about being aggressive in the offseason, we've not seen the aggressiveness through free agency, which is fine. You can do it that way. But, if you are wanting to be true to your word and you are wanting to say this is different and we're approaching this a bit differently, then I think you've really got to go up and find better players. You don't need as many, you just need better, especially with us. We need an edge too. We need a tackle, ideally, a long-term one. So you want to kind of put your chips in and go and get one high if you can. So I'm still of the opinion they're going to go up if the right person falls. If not, I would fully expect it to be a trenchman. Like at this point, I'm whether it be Ione, if he falls, I think they might do that. But it's 100% going to be a trench player. But I think the likelihood is they go up to do it. Second round, whichever of the two major ones they don't get, they'll get there. I don't think there's going to be a position outside those two because I think you can get good value at both for what you're looking for. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay. And then the last question I got for you, because I know, you've made some time out of your day and run a little bit longer for you here, but there's been speculation that some of the guys we've drafted, I'd say the 24 draft, 25 draft, those are probably through most fans viewed as the drafts for Brad Holmes that he gambled on a little bit more, rolled the dice a little bit more. Is there any players out of those two specific drafts that you think this is the year they could really step up and help the franchise?
I mean, Terrion has to be the big one if he stays healthy and performs to his expectations. I think Terrion's really going to be the difference maker. Like we've said, our history of drafting corners is absolutely rotten, completely and utterly rotten, all the way back to Darius Slay. Like, there's been nobody since him who's been anywhere near good. We really need him to come through. And I saw enough from him last year before the injuries came in to say that he's trending very much in the right direction and he's looking a lot better. But we need him to be great. We need him as that lockdown corner. He's a big piece of this puzzle. There's a reason we drafted a guy like him. He's so quick. He's so versatile, so strong. So I think he would be the major one out of it. The rest of them, I'm not holding out much hope. Ennis hasn't played football in nearly 3 years. Manu at this point, I think, is just going to be a backup. He's going to be a lesser version of Skip at best. And Varkey, I'm just, again, the guy's got about 40 carries since his second year of college. I just don't see how they're just going to suddenly become massive contributors right away. So I think Terrion's the big one out of these. At least if he can come good, that's a massive part sorted for us. And if DJ Reed returns to the form he can this year, then we do have a very formidable corner pairing. So I'm nowhere near up on TA yet. I think he's going to prove everybody wrong.
Okay. All right, Anthony, I want to thank you for sprinting up that big hill to get here. You know, putting forth an incredible set of tape for anybody to recruit you in, etc. So why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everywhere they can find you, support you, and all the great things you do for the Lion fandom.
Yeah, you can find me at Roar of the Lions UK. We're a group of Detroit Lions fans from across the pond. So if you want to come and get your Lions news and views from a British perspective, check us out. We're live Mondays. I do a college football podcast on Wednesdays if you like your college ball. And generally, I'll do a Q&A over the weekend as well, where I'll just hang around and let you ask me questions. So, yeah, you can find me at Roar of the Lions UK. Thank you always, Dan. Thank you to the Dew crew. Hope you're all well. Keep smiling. Drafts in a few weeks. It's always good fun, and hopefully Brad knocks another one out the park for us, and we're all happy going into the proper off season.
We just need him to draft 9 Hall of Famers in this draft, and if we can do that, we'll probably all forgive him for maybe one bad draft. All right,
there you go.
All right, Anthony, you have a great day, my friend, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care, everybody. Have a good one. See you soon, and a happy Easter to you all as well.
Same to you.
See ya. Bye.
All right, Duke Crew, let's get through the comments section as best I can. I got about 8 minutes left, so let's go through it and see what you guys have to say on these things. All right, we'll start off with Hassan Medley. Let's see. Thomas Donner, thank you for supporting my son. Yeah, I think just about everybody in the Duke Crew is massively a fan of Ahmed Hassanin and can't wait to watch him blow up some other teams' quarterbacks. All right, Blue Trees, my argument is that I trust Brad and Dan more. So they are acquiring these guys. They have a plan, and I get all that. I like our chances with Dan driving the car. Me too, my friend. Coach Rock looks like a lot of Super Bowls ahead then. Let's hope so. That would be a great thing. Hookadoo. I wasn't too bend over Johnson Broski. Did you see him throw his headset? I did. Oh, we may have seen that. Yes, sir. You better believe and support Ahmed Hassanin. I think we do. Thomas McNeil, his first game back last year, I thought he was Aaron Donald, ! Every game after that, Davenport. He never showed up again. My question, why? Probably just the strength in the ACL or that knee wasn't fully back. That's just my anticipation. I don't know that, Thomas. All right, Broski. I saw Ben win the division his first year as head coach. I saw Lions go to a last place the first year without Ben. Get some. The only thing I'd say, Broski, is I also saw for some reason you guys still got destroyed by 40 points in one game against the Lions. And then, man, chance to just put 2 MCDs in the hapless Lions. You couldn't even beat them at home? Eesh. Let's see, Hookadoo. Yeah, heck yeah, Ahmed is going to be a beast. I think so. Let's see, Andrew. Deck isn't Barry. I would agree with that. He's good. He's not that level. He didn't know if he was going to retire in February, and then he met with Brad and Dan. Brad and Dan and Brad, okay. Then they find out on social media with the rest of us, he gave up his rights. He, probably a little ups in his feelings. How about that? Motown Mitch, I saw Ben sent into early retirement by consistently losing the Lions. Could be. Phil, praise for the Lions from the league. Does this represent a change in the Lions' chance for a Super Bowl? You know, it's from reporters, not necessarily the league itself. So, I don't know, man. And again, I don't know all the dynamics that went into building those lists. I was a little surprised to see the Lions number 3. I won't say that, their merchandise sales aren't very good. Historically, over 100 years, they have been very good. Like I said, you haven't won a championship in 70 years, and yet you're still like number 10 on the list as far as the amount of championships. That means even though you took a nap for getting close to a century, 3/4 of a century. You know what? You still are better than everybody else. All right, Hookadoo. Where were the Bears in 24, Broski? Thomas, all right, let's. I don't know what's going on with the Broski thing, but the only thing I'm going to say is, man, this is a Lions channel. If you're going to come in and talk jazz about the Lions, it's probably not going to go well for you. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Thomas, yet the Bears lose both of their last team in the division. Who won other than the worst place schedule? The only thing I'd say for everybody, whether you're Bears fan, Lions fan, if you don't win the Super Bowl, you're in the same spot. You're second place. And if you're not first, you're last. So I'll go with that. I love the fact that we've got 4 straight winning seasons, but somebody coming here beating on your chest saying, man, we did this with that. Did you win the championship? Then you're a failure by a coach's standard like everybody else other than one team. So nobody should be talking too much jazz about anybody else, especially Broski. I did see some of your comments. You're taking shots at 1 year. You won, first place. Great. You still lost you got swept by the worst place team in the division. And you did what with your first place victory? Let me know if that got a championship this year. All right, Motown. I see the future Lions will send all the Bears back to the basement for good this year. Probably accurate. When is the last time the Bears beat the Lions? That's a good question. Jonathan, good morning. Back at you. Brian, what to end we get in round 1 if we choose one there? What end? Oh, I'm not sure there, but there will be some good ones. Grittenberg, what do you got? I foresee Thyman dropping to us at 17. Could be. Hey, what's this? Martinez, hey, thank you very much for this. Thank you very much. And let's give you a proper 1, 2, and a 3. All right, good morning, Coach Dan and Anthony. Please comment on NFL possibility expanding to 18 games soon. Cheers. I think it is going to happen. I do think probably the preseason is going the way of the dodo, or maybe you get one preseason game. Because at the end of the day, you have to consider the human component. You see all the wear these bodies go through with NFL games. And if you add an 18th regular season game, is it really more wear than if you play 0 preseason games? I would even argue if you get rid of the preseason and the 18th regular season game, you may be protecting bodies more. It may be different for your first stringers, but the overall human total is probably less. Kev, what do you got? Love the channel. Kev in the UK. Well, we love having you here, and thank you for being a part of it. Phil, with Ben Johnson coaching, I doubt the Bears. Okay. So, sir, Ahmed is hungry, like the lion. How about that? I know it. Yeah, I think you're right. Phil will fail. I think they will. Miles Marker, what do you got? The Roar Lions UK soon. Very soon it was. In fact, he's already been here. But yeah, I get it when you commented it. Trim River, welcome. Kev, Broski, what do you do? Ben wasn't there on the Bears in 24. What did the Lions do in 25? Okay, Broski, here's the only thing I'm going to say. This is a Lions show, and I feel we've had this conversation over the years. You got permanent banned once. You talked your way back in. I have noticed a trend with you lately, trying to throw shade at the Lions. Here's what I can say, man. Hold up your hand if your team won something this year or this past season. All I know is you guys got swept. And here's what I know. After you got swept, if you seem to remember this score, were you guys at home in prime time, couldn't do anything against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. You went missing, MIA for what, a month and a half? So here's what I'm going to say. I don't mind you being in the chat, but if you're going to come take shots at the Lions, it's not going to go well for you, man. Make your choices, but there will be a consequence if it's the wrong choice. Hoodie, you must have loved it when they were throwing the Commanders game, Broski. Probably accurate. Let's see. Christian, Barnes and Malcolm don't bring much to the table for starters. At least y'all know what you're getting with Anzalone. I agree. Broski, is this Riley Thornton hosting a show day? Well, I guess I don't understand. You have to let me know. Miles Martin, Ant, blow trees, Ant-Man was crackling, buddy. It happens. Phil, the beard keeps getting better and better, Anthony. Yes, he is growing it out, isn't he? Karen, laughing out loud. Dennis Vanderlove, hugs that end on the ground. Let's see if we do it. I enjoyed watching Goff and the defense blow last game. Oh, what do you mean last game? We destroyed you guys last game. We beat you. So, Broski, if I see any more jazz like this, goodbye, my friend. You get to find another channel to cry in. All right, Anthony, top of the morning. Ant-Man, Martinez, welcome. Roar Lions UK, exclamation point. Let's see. Philosopher, back to the list of the NFL best franchises. I don't trust a list with the Saints and Jaguars on it, but leave out the Packers. Yeah, I was kind of wondering because no disrespect to the Packers, man, but they've won championships. They've been, relevant for the vast history of the NFL. And I have to imagine their merchandise sales are pretty high. I hate to have to defend the Packers 13 championships. Yeah, I get you, man. I get you. But you probably have a great point there. Maybe they were number 11. I mean, I don't know. Service Broski, tell me something about a weak spot the Bears might have about being here with the people instead of against change the script. Okay. What can you do? I bet you did troll. Karen agreed. Renegade. Dennis, time for a Broski S exit. He's stepping on that line, ain't he? Yep. Barnes and Rodriguez are special teams players at best. Yeah, I seem to have a different opinion when they played you guys last year. Let's see. Jonathan, feels like Blake Miller is going to be the pick with the Dan said about Sewell. It is possible for sure. Silver, tell me something about Chicago, Broski. All right, Broski digging his own grave once again. He can't help himself, apparently. I'm not allowed to speak about the Bears unless asked directly. I don't make the rules. I just play by them. Right now, I'm not sure if you're playing by the rules. Michael, Bears are going to find out what a real NFL schedule is all about now. They will be a test for them. Trying to be as respectful as I can be. We'll see what they do this year. I mean, they did some good things. No doubt about it last year. Can they do it a second year? That's tough. Any coach will tell you that. All right, Blows, Renegade. The list was just for upcoming season, not all time. Hell of a pendulum kid, so true. Okay, Steven, what do you got? Good morning, Coach Dan, the Dude Crew, the Brit with Grit, Anthony. Woo! Exclamation point, back at you. Bo, pendulum is spot on, Anthony. Christian, Decker is now finding out that 12 million is better than 0 million. His wife is probably PO'd. I would probably have went that way too, because I guess him and his representation, and I blame his representation for this. They really should have stepped up. Players get emotional. You and I get emotional. Everybody gets emotional. But his legal representation should have stepped up and said, hey, what are they offering? And let's just say it's 10 million a year, 5 million, 8 million a year. Can we supersede that in free agency? And if they told him yes, and he's still not signed somewhere, that's a massive loss for probably what would have been his final payday. All right, guys, I'm in overtime here. I got to get ready for work and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, if there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you would be so kind before departing, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being, and we'll see you guys all on the next Lions Talk Live. Have a phenomenal day, everybody. You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.